The main character in the film is Guy Maddin. It is, I've just said, 97% autobiographically true. It might even be just 100% true. I think there's a few surface details that have been changed. I didn't grow up in a lighthouse, so I don't know if that accounts for 1% of the total facts or not. But it's emotionally and melodramatically true, psychologically true, poetically true. So I just was always emboldened by just using as much of myself. Besides making films that came off as arty and as bizarre as my early films did, somewhat distancing to most viewers. I really felt sensitive about potential charges of just being an artsy wanker. So I wanted to make sure that the films were really grounded in something real, and that as goofy as the films got at times, that I was dead serious about the subject matter always. Is the writing of Polish author Bruno Schulz, who wrote Between the Wars, was murdered by Nazis, wrote in Polish. He just has a way of mythologizing every sensory experience a child encounters. And I just like his way of filing childhood memories so that it brings to life, for the first time since your dawn of recollection, what it's like to feel the wonderment of just encountering new sensations, new phenomenon every day. You know, your experience, your theories of how the world works are doubling in sophistication almost every day when you're a very young child. And that they're just constantly constructing and then reconstructing and amending and annexing a model of their cosmos, their universe. And that the real and joyous intoxications and wonderment come from building faulty models and then tearing them down and rebuilding. But you never completely tear down your model. I think you just keep adding on to your model, to your faulty model of the way the world works. And that all of us, by the time we're grown-ups, have just built this really elaborate model, which we feel is right now, finally. But at its very foundation, at the very bottom, its very earliest days, there are these errors. And that these errors sort of run like a mother lode through whatever we've built in the ensuing years. And that when we then meet someone important to us and we try to love them, or we try to make sense of our families, our own children later, that we're doing so with this spectacularly strange model of the world that's just so wrong, so spectacularly wrong, so deliciously in a literary way wrong, that it just leads to unbelievable clashes, delicious confusions, dreamy deliriums, and so I've tried to approach my own filmmaking in this way, as taking each incident and maybe linking it in an illogical way or in a flipped logic way to its antecedent. So I found in, I guess, surrealism, which is a movement that spent itself the first time around pretty quickly, and then just resurfaced forever now as part of our vocabulary, which we have no trouble with. But it spoke my language, it read my mail, it thrust a molten lightning rod right into my brain. And I realized, hey, I could just, opening the door of primitive surrealism, I can enter the world of filmmaking. And we finally got around to doing it in spite of taking a million naps. And it took 18 months to shoot and sort of edit and rethink stories and cook these things up together. And as a child, I always had this feeling that everything would happen again. Somehow I always felt my emotional responses to things were inadequate to them. You know, if someone died in the family, or if or a baby was born, or someone got married, I kind of flatlined for some reason. I had a little circuit breaker that always went off. And I failed to deliver the proper emotional response. I could sometimes fake it, but I never felt it. And I would often tell myself, for some reason, this is from earliest childhood, like while I was pretending to be thrilled at a birthday gift that I really was thrilled at receiving, but somehow still faking my exhilaration. That next time this happened, next time, you know, my Uncle Herb died. It wasn't next time an uncle died, it was next time my Uncle Herb died, I would have the proper response. Something very early on taught me not to have an uninhibited response. And that was a good thing for some reason. It enabled me to sort of go through life anesthetized, but sort of accumulate, stockpile a massive inventory of memories to be experienced properly, with proper emotions later. And I'm wondering if that second time, I started to wonder if that second time would just be when I die, when I'm falling off a building or something and my life's flashing before me, that then in an explosive orgy of emotions, I would finally get to experience everything properly before splattering myself onto the sidewalk. But then I realized that the second time is actually being delivered to myself personally when I'm making these movies. And I'm finally beginning to understand what it was I went through.
Everything that happens will happen again, twice.